Have you ever felt like you were being watched while browsing the aisles of a library? That prickling sensation on the back of your neck, the feeling of eyes on you even when you're completely alone. Most of us brush it off as imagination, but for the staff and patrons of the old Crestwood Library, it was an undeniable, chilling reality. This isn't just a story. It is a collection of experiences from a place where the silence was often broken by more than just the turning of a page. The Crestwood Library was built in 1892, a beautiful Victorian structure with towering shelves, winding staircases, and shadowy corners that seemed to hold secrets from a bygone era. For decades, it was a beloved town landmark. But alongside its rich history, it developed a reputation for something else, something much more unsettling. Whispers began to circulate about a presence, a ghost that didn't just haunt the building but seemed to fixate on certain individuals. They called it the stalker. The stories all follow a similar pattern. It would start subtly. A book you were just looking at would be on the floor when you turned back around. You might hear a faint, shuffling sound from an empty aisle, like someone dragging their feet. Or you'd catch a fleeting glimpse of a tall, shadowy figure at the end of a long corridor, only for it to vanish when you blinked. At first, it's easy to dismiss. Old buildings make strange noises, right? Your eyes can play tricks on you in low light. But then it escalates. One of the most well-documented accounts comes from a young librarian named Clara who worked there in the late 1970s. Clara loved her job, but from her first week she felt a strange, oppressive energy in the history section on the second floor. She would be meticulously organizing books only to find them completely rearranged moments later, not just knocked over, but placed in a bizarre, nonsensical order. Then came the whispers. She'd be working late, the only one in the building, and hear a faint, raspy voice murmuring her name. Clara, ... quotes. It would hiss from the darkness. Terrified, she initially tried to ignore it, focusing on her work. But the presence grew bolder. It started following her. As she walked from one section to another, she could hear slow, deliberate footsteps echoing hers, always just a few paces behind. When she stopped, they stopped. When she sped up, they sped up. She'd whip around, heart pounding, to find nothing but empty space. It was a terrifying game of cat and mouse, and she was always the mouse. The peak of her ordeal happened one stormy evening. The power flickered, plunging the library into near-total darkness, save for the emergency lights. Clara was in the basement archives, a place even the most seasoned staff avoided. As she searched for a file with her flashlight, she felt a sudden, intense cold wash over her. The beam of her light began to flicker and dim, and then she saw it. Standing at the far end of the narrow aisle, partially obscured by a shelf, was the silhouette of a tall, gaunt man. He was unnaturally still, just a void in the darkness. She couldn't see a face, but she knew, with every fiber of her being, that he was staring right at her. Frozen in fear, all she could do was stare back. The air grew heavy, thick, with a malevolent energy. The footsteps started again, not behind her this time, but coming towards her. Slow, heavy, and full of purpose. Thud, thud, thud. Clara finally broke from her paralysis, screamed, and ran. She didn't stop running until she was out the front doors and in the pouring rain, never looking back. She quit her job the very next day and refused to ever set foot in that library again. Clara wasn't the only one. Over the years, countless patrons reported similar experiences. A college student studying for his finals felt an icy hand on his shoulder, but when he turned, no one was there. He then saw every book on the table across from him fly off onto the floor, one by one. A young girl told her mother that a tall, sad man followed her through the children's section, shushing her, even though she wasn't making a sound. So, who is this stalking ghost? Local legend points to a man named Elias Croft, the head librarian in the early 1900s. Croft was a stern, solitary man, deeply possessive of his library and its books. He viewed the library not as a public service, but as his personal collection. He was known to quietly follow patrons he deemed unworthy or disrespectful, watching them from the shadows to ensure they treated the books with proper reverence. He died of a heart attack one night while working late, right in the history section on the second floor. It's believed his obsessive, possessive spirit never left. He continues his nightly patrols, watching over his collection and fixating on those who enter his domain. He isn't just a residual memory. He seems to be an intelligent, interactive entity, choosing his targets and enjoying the fear he creates. The old Crestwood Library was eventually closed down a few years ago, not because of the ghost, but due to structural issues. The building still stands, silent and empty, its windows like dark, vacant eyes. But those who live nearby say that on quiet nights, if you look up at the second-floor windows, you can sometimes see a tall, shadowy figure moving slowly through the darkness, still watching, still waiting, a lonely guardian of a forgotten hall of stories. It seems the stalker of the library is still on duty. What do you think? Would you be brave enough to spend a night in the Crestwood Library? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this chilling tale, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the shadows. Thanks for watching, and stay safi.